Inspiration porn is something you watch to get off on inspiration. And not get off like with your penis and vagina, but get off on like to cry or to feel better or to feel hopeful, or it's something you watch to feel like you yourself could like overcome an obstacle. And so 9 times out of 10 when you see somebody with disability, we're presenting an idea that despite their disability, they did A, B, or C, all built around this idea that our main characterization as people with disabilities is that we are inspirational to others. And so for me, when I was a kid, I was very like, I'm going to do tap dance and French horn and marching band, church choir, and I took ballet classes. I got to wear the leotards and the tutu, and the tap shoes on my hands was a big deal, and I had like a bag full of gear, and it was all because I was a ballerina. I just thought it was my calling, and I was obsessed with the stage. But then slowly I started to notice that like every time I danced or sang or was in the marching band, it was like a news story. And it culminated when I went to New York to be on the Maury Povich show. It was like when Donahue and Oprah and Maury were all doing the same wholesome-ish thing. News talk shows. Because I say Maury and people are like, you didn't know who the father was? And it's like, this was before that, where he was having a lot of youngsters with talent come in and talk about how they overcame their obstacles. But I heard it as, a show wants you to come to New York. New York. I was so excited that somebody was going to pay for a flight and there was going to be a limo to pick us up and they were going to have a hotel and I was going to sing. Like, that's all I heard. And I kept being like with my mom, like, should we do this? And she is like 1,000% on board. This is her dream come true. She gets to be super mom and I get to like show my talents. I wasn't at all thinking like how dark that stuff can get. And so we got an outfit and then we went and the limo picked us up and we went to the fancy hotel room. Like, I am being treated like a star. So by the time that you get there and they say, we'd really like you to go on stage without your wheelchair, it doesn't register. And I had an immediate like, no, that's not what I do. I'm in high school now. I'm not crawling around. I'm trying to like be as cool as possible. And crawling wasn't cool. Crawling didn't feel natural to me. That's something I did at home to get around that only like my family and maybe my friends saw. And so when they said that and I said no and they kept pushing, this is like 5 seconds before air. They really think it would be more powerful if you crawled out there. And so I crawled out on stage. And I did Whitney Houston's I Believe Children Are Our Future. And they forced me to say this thing about how I have had a crush on older people. Like, I mean, it was true. Who wasn't attracted to George Clooney during ER days? And they kind of was like, what about Maury? And so I said I had a crush on Maury too. And it was just kind of strange. But I didn't really realize the full picture of you're being exploited right now. They actually don't care about you as a singer. Because every question he asked, it was like, so tell me about how your life's hard. And I would be like, it's not. And they'd be like, but don't you have to overcome everything? And I'd be like, no. And it was just them over and over again trying to get across that like my life was really hard, but I had this talent. It was all this like framework. And then they had me back because there was like a lot of guys who wrote in and said, I want to be this girl's boyfriend. They handed me this huge stack of letters. And then they brought a boy in who wrote a song about me called Sweet Mindie. It was like, and let the world hear your voice and sing to me, Sweet Mindie. It was like that. And he looked like a Backstreet Boy. And on air, he asked me to prom. And then we went to prom together. And that was episode 3. It's just all very like, just, ugh. I didn't have the language for this was inspiration porn, and I don't like it. Because I got myself into like a great many exploitation pickles later in life. Like it took me a minute to realize this pattern I was in. Because what I thought was, I'm really talented and I want to be on stage. But if I'm amazing for doing something super simple like going to the grocery store, do I have talent? Am I just being exploited? it's just all very like confusing, and that's why I wrestled so much with what it is to be on stage without legs.